which will have a quiz, and most of you might know that there's a quiz in Teams itself. I never knew this before this. So उसमें एक quiz होती है जिसमें you can answer and you can be ranked according in your team कितने लोग हैं. So we are gonna conduct that quiz, and after that the important part, problem solving. So अगर problem solving में हमने ध्यान दिया, so we can get a nice chance in the end, and there's a surprise element for all of you in the end. So if you focus on problem part and understand the end can be beneficial for you. So I would recommend that wait for the final part. It's not kind of a giveaway, but हाँ कुछ सरप्राइज है एंड में, तो अगर वहां तक रुकेंगे तो मजा आएगी. So this was all about the agendas we have for today's session, and now I'll hand over to Dhanishri, so she can take over and can do the intro. Dhanishri, up to you. Dhanishri, are you there? Yes.
Yes, I'm there. So, hello guys, I'm Dhanushree. So, in today's session, we'll have a look on greedy algorithm. So, पहले सेशन में हमने pointers and strings discuss किए थे. So, this time we'll discuss greedy algorithm. So, before moving on to greedy algorithms, we will first look at what are some basic approach to solve a problem. So, basically, when there is a problem, what we do is first we analyze a problem. Then we find a step-by-step approach to solve a problem. So that is basically called the naive approach or a brute force approach. Also, there are some various other approaches, like we can use divide and conquer method. That is, the problem is divided into various steps, and then each sub-problem can be solved individually. There are also some random algorithms. There's also a dynamic approach to solve a problem. So today we will look greedy algorithms. So basically greedy, this is not an algorithm, it is a technique or approach to solve a problem. So before moving directly to what is greedy, we will solve a problem first. So I'm at a location A and I have to go to the destination B. So what are the options that I have? So I have this various solutions. I can go by walk, I can go by two-wheeler, rickshaw, train, aeroplane. So these are the options. So let's see, we have one constraint that I have to reach the destination in minimum time. That is in 12 hours. So we have two options to choose. We can go either by train or we can go either by aeroplane. So these two are our feasible solutions. So basically, feasible solution means the solutions that satisfy requirements or conditions. So from all these solutions, we have chosen two as our feasible solutions. So now let's see, there is one more constraint that I have to reach the destination with minimum cost. Like I also have to reach in minimum time as well as I have to reach with minimum cost. So from these feasible solutions, I'll select one optimum solution. So I have two feasible solutions. The one is train and one is aeroplane. So the one which will require minimum cost is by train. So here the optimum solution is train. So this problem is basically called an optimization problem. That is, here we either have to find a maximum result or minimum result. So in this problem, we have to find the minimum result. So this is an minimization or optimization problem. So basically, a greedy approach is used to solve this problem. So let's move on to what is optimization. So whenever we have to find a solution, we just have a look and find a solution. But optimization means that it is not just a solution, but we have to find the best solution. And greedy algorithm works well for such kind of problems. So let's see the approach to solve a greedy algorithm or a problem. So first of all, we have a problem. We have to divide it into various stages. So at each stage, we have to select the best one. It is basically like selecting a local optimum solution. And at the end, we end up by getting a global optimum solution. So this is a greedy approach to solve a problem. So it works in phases. Let's see this with a real-time example. So imagine you're going for hiking and your goal is to reach the highest point. Now there are four or five routes to go to the destination. So I have suppose the highest point is located to the north side and I have 4 5 routes. The one goes to the north, one goes to the south, another goes to east and west. So what you'll do, you'll select a route that go towards the north side. You don't know that whether the route is right or wrong. What you do is like जो तुम्हें लगता है कि like at this position this route is best, you will choose that route. So this is basically greedy. Like at each step, you have to be greedy for finding a solution. Let's see the greedy algorithm. So we begin with a solution set. So first of all, the solution set is empty. Then at each step, we take an input into the solution set. We first check that whether the input is feasible or not. If it is feasible, so let's again revise what is feasible. So feasible solution is basically a solution which satisfies our requirements. Like if there are any constraints or conditions in our problem, and if that input satisfies it, we have to include it in our solution set. So if it is feasible, we keep that current item. We add it in our solution set. And if it is not feasible, we reject that item and we never consider it again. So this is a greedy algorithm. So suppose these are the input elements and I have stored it in an array and the size of the array is 5. So I'll traverse the array from I equals to 0 to n minus 1. So first of all, I'll select the first element. I'll check if it is feasible or not. If it is feasible, I will add it to the solution set. If it is not feasible, I will check the next element. So in this way, we have to approach to greedy method. So this is a small example of greedy approach. Now, suppose like we have $28 and you want to make a change of that amount with smallest number of coins and you have the available coins are $5 coin, $2 coin and $1 coin. So you have to select minimum number of coins to gain this amount 28. So what you will do, you will first go on selecting the coin which has the biggest amount. So first you will select a $5 coin. Then again you will look which one is the bigger, 5. Then again you will choose 5. You will choose 5 till you satisfy till we satisfy a condition like till 25. And after that you will choose 2 and after that you will choose 1. So this is basically you are greedy at each state. So let's understand this with our solution set. So first of all, our solution set is empty and we have these coins available with us. So initially we'll be taking our sum as 0. So we'll take a while loop till the sum is not equals to 28. So first we'll select a coin from this coins array and then we'll check if its sum is less than 28. If it is less than 28, we'll add it into our solution set. Then again, we'll choose a coin from this coins array. We'll again check its sum. If it is less than 28, we'll add it in the solution set. So in this way, we'll go on choosing the coins up till we get the amount required. So in this way, we get this sum, and this is the way we solve greedy problems. So at the last, you get five $5 coins and one $2 coin and one $1 coin. So here are some examples which we'll be looking in our further sessions of greedy algorithm. I hope you enjoyed the theory part. So now over to you, Aman.
Thank you, Dhanashri. It was nice getting the explanation thoroughly from your side. Now we'll move further with the quiz, as most of you must be excited for the quiz part. And now I'll call Sahil for the quiz so that he can take over and let us enjoy the Sahil.
Thanks, Aman. Let me share my screen first.
Okay.
So, okay. Um, is my screen visible? Hello?
Yes, Sahil.
Okay. Hi, guys. I hope you all like the theory part. Now, I'm hosting the Kahoot quiz on the same topic. I don't know if you guys know what Kahoot is. So, it's pretty much a quiz that you play in classrooms. But we are going to play it here to make the session fun real quick. It's like a common quiz with 4 options each. The question will be displayed on your screen. You just have to log in using this link www.kahoot.it and use the pin 3288542. For your convenience, I'll put it in the WhatsApp group so you can join in one click. So our pin is 3288542. So yeah, आप आई होप आप सबने जेडब्ल्यू का ऑफलाइन पैटर्न देखा ही होगा. क्वेश्चन पेपर से क्वेश्चन देखो और फिर ओएमआर शीट पे भरो. तो ये भी कुछ ऐसा ही होने वाला है. यू विल हैव टू चेक द क्वेश्चन ऑन आवर स्क्रीन एंड देन and give answer on the another. For your also for your convenience, I'll be dictating the question in ABCD format. A will be the red option, B will be the blue, C will be yellow, and D is green. In this real-time quiz, you'll be competing with our other participants. So be well focused. Here's a twist. You will only get 20 seconds to answer a question. And the lesser the time you take, the more points you get. And there's no cheating on this quiz because the quizzes are private. So there's no way you can get the answer. So it's literally whoever's answering the fastest and accurate is winning. Also, if you can't answer a question, you can take a wild guess, and I'll be giving a brief explanation after each question. So participants, I request you all to join the quiz. We'll wait till we have a sufficient number of participants, and please name with your original name. I see here's someone named Anonymous. So yeah, please name with your original name so that we can recognize who the real winner is. Please don't do that. Use your original name anonymously or anonymous. Whoever is that, please use your original name. Okay, we have 4 participants. Okay, there's the 5th one. Even our executives can join. We need some competition. Okay, Mohit is here too. Great. I hope there's no difficulty in finding the game. If there's some difficulty, please tell me by unmuting yourself or putting it in the chat box. Our executives will help you. Again, I request you all to use your real name, like this is OO. I don't think that's the real name. Please use your real name so that we can recognize who the real winner is. Guys, I expect 2 more participants at least.
How to join?
Please use your any browser and type in www.kahoot.it. I have pasted a link in the WhatsApp group. You just have to use the game pin 3288542 and you will be into the game. Is that clear? Hello? First of all, am I audible?
Yes, Sahil, you are audible.
Yes, Sahil, you are audible.
Yeah, all right. So, anyone else joining? Still trying to join? Okay, we have 10 participants. I'm starting the game. So let's start. Here comes the first question in 3, 2, 1, go. So the first question is, which of the following standard algorithms is not a greedy algorithm? Option A, Dijkstra's shortest path algorithm. B, Prim's algorithm. C, Kruskal algorithm. D, Bellman-Ford shortest path algorithm. I've got 3 answers till now. You have 5 seconds to answer. Come on, guys. You can guess it as well. Come on. Okay, 9 answers and 6 of you have answered it correctly. Bellman-Ford shortest path algorithm. So guys, Bellman-Ford shortest path algorithm is a non-greedy technique used for graphs with negative weight functions because Dijkstra doesn't work for that. Please remember that. We'll check the leaderboard. And it's Santosh who has answered the question the fastest. He is leading with 790 points. We'll move to the next question. Be ready. What is the time complexity of Huffman coding? Or option A, big O of n. Option B, big O of n log n. Option C, big O of n log n square. Option D, big O of n square. You have got 5 seconds to answer now. And I have received 7 answers till now, 8, 9 answers, and 8 of you have answered it correctly. Wow. The answer is big O of n log n. Huffman coding gives big O of n log n using heap ds. Let's move to the next question. And checking the Zod has made into the top 5 with 1297 points. Cool. And Santosh is still leading the quiz. So we'll move to the next question. Dijkstra algorithm is also called as dash shortest path problem. A, multiple source. B, single source. C, single destination. D, multiple destination. I've received 4 answers yet. 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay, so single source is the correct answer. And 4 of you have answered it correctly. Santosh has a streak with 3 correct answers in a row. Wow. And Varun has moved into the top 5 as well as Dhanashri. Fourth question, which of the following is most commonly used data structure for implementing Dijkstra's algorithm? Option A, max priority queue. B, stack. C, circular queue. D, min priority queue. You have got 10 seconds to answer. 8, 9, and I guess we are done here. Okay, so 10 answers, and out of them, 3 have answered it correctly. The correct answer is min priority queue. And Santosh has the highest answer streak of 4. Is still leading, and Krishna is on second. Question 5. Which of the following is true about Huffman coding? A, Huffman coding may become lossy in some cases. B, Huffman codes may not be optimal lossless codes in some cases. C. In Huffman coding, no code is prefix of any other code. D. All of the above. Cool. So I have received 7 answers and 6 of you have chosen all of the above, which is the wrong answer. And 1 of you have chosen Huffman coding may become lossy in some cases. It's unfortunate that no one has marked the correct answer. So I'll explain. See guys, lossless encoding techniques have the ability to fully and accurately regenerate the original data. As the name suggests, the lossy encoding technique only provide a well enough approximation of the original data. The advantage being here is the faster speed is use cases where the data accuracy isn't the highest priority. Please remember that. So we'll check the scoreboard and it's still the same as no one answered the correct option. So question 6, what is the time complexity of Dijkstra's algorithm? Option A, big O of n. Option B, big O of n cube. Option C, big O of n square. Option D, big O of log n. I've got 9 answers and it's 10. Okay, so cool. 3 of you have answered it correctly with big O of n square. And up 3 places, Aditya is the highest climber. Great Aditya. And Krishna has also replaced Santosh as the top spot with 3079 points. Keep it up, Krishna. The 7th question. Dijkstra's algorithm cannot be applied on A. Directed and weighted graphs. B. Graphs having negative weight function. C. Unweighted graphs. D. Undirected and unweighted graphs. Okay, so I have received 9 answers, 10 answers. Okay, all of you have answered and 6 of you have answered it correctly. Brilliant. As we had discussed in the very first question, Dijkstra's algorithm doesn't work for negative weighted functions. We use Bellman-Ford technique there. Cool. And Krishna is still on top and Arvind and Aditya have made their way into the top 5. Great. So 8th question is here. The type of encoding where no character code is prefix of another character code is called. Option A, optimal encoding. Option B, prefix encoding. Option C, frequency encoding. Option D, trie encoding. We have got 8 answers. It's 9 and 10. Cool. Everybody has answered. And let's check. 8 of you have answered it correctly. The answer is prefix encoding. And Krishna has a streak with 3 correct answers in a row. Brilliant. Let's check the next question now. How many priority queue operations are involved in Dijkstra's algorithm? Option A, 1, B, 2, 3, C, C, 3, and D, 4. Okay, so we have 5 seconds, 8 answers, 9, and yeah, 3 of you have answered it correctly. The correct answer is 3. Okay, Santosh has replaced Krishna as at the top spot again. Krishna still has the highest answer streak of 4, and Varun has moved to the top 5 again. Brilliant. Question 10. Fractional knapsack problem is also known as option A, 0-1 knapsack problem. Option B, continuous knapsack problem. Option C, divisible knapsack problem. Option D, non-continuous knapsack problem. So 9 answers. All right. So 3 of you have answered it correctly with the correct answer being continuous knapsack problem. So guys, fractional knapsack problem is like the classic knapsack problem only, where we have to store as many weighted objects as we can into a container of limited size. But we can store partial or fractional objects. Let's move to the next question. In checking the scoreboard, Varun has moved on the 3rd place and Aditya has moved to the 5th place. Here comes the question number 11. The maximum number of times the decrease key operation is performed in Dijkstra's algorithm will be equal to option A, total number of vertices. Option B, total number of edges. Option C, number of vertices minus 1. Option D, number of edges minus 1. I've got 7 answers till now and 7 seconds to. All right, it's ending. Time's up. We have got 5 correct answers. The total number of edges is the correct answer. See guys, if the total number of edges in adjacency list is E, then there will be a total of an E number of iterations, and hence there will be a total of at most E decrease key operations. Let's check the leaderboard. Okay, Varun has a streak with 3 correct answers in a row. Cool. We move to the 12th question now. In Huffman coding, how many bits are needed for standard encoding if the size of the character set is X? Option A, log X. Option B, X plus 1. Option C, 2X. Option D, X square. I've got 6 answers. 3 seconds left, 2, 1, and time's up. So the correct answer is log X, and 2 of you have answered it correctly. Okay, Varun has a streak with 4 correct answers in a row. Brilliant, brilliant. Let's check the 13th question. What is running time of Daktra's algorithm using binary mean heap method? So option A, order of V. Option B, big O of V log V. Option C, big O of E. Option D, big O of E log V. So I have received 8 answers. Okay, time's up. So only 2 of you have answered it correctly. It's order of E log V. And up to 3 places anonymously is the highest climber. Cool. It's the question number 14. In Huffman coding, data in a tree always occur at option A, roots, B, leaves, C, left subtrees, D, right subtrees. I have got 9 answers, 10 answers. All right, so all of you have answered, and the correct answer is leaves, and 2 of you have answered it correctly. Let's check the leaderboard. Okay, Krishna moves to the top place. Santosh is on second. Varun is on third. And guys, take this last question really seriously, because this is gonna decide who our winner is. Best of luck to everyone, but especially this top 5 people. Question number 15, the last question. The main time-taking step in fractional knapsack problem is A, breaking items into fraction. B, adding items into knapsack. C, sorting. D, looping through sorted items. I've got 7 answers, 8 answers, 9 answers, 10 answers, and here we conclude our quiz. 4 of you have answered it correctly, with the correct answer being sorting. Guys, checking for overflow, breaking, and adding items is not significantly computationally expensive, but sorting really is. So let's check our podium. The top 3. Third is Varun with 7 out of 15 questions correct, 5,240 points. Second is Santosh, 5292 points, 7 out of 15. And the first is with 6296 points, Krishna, 9 out of 15 questions correct. Congratulations to all, and runner-ups are anonymously and Arvind. So first of all, congratulations to Krishna. And all right, so I hope you guys have enjoyed the process. First of all, I'll stop sharing the screen. Okay, am I audible? I guess I am, yeah. All right, congratulations, Krishna. And I would love if you can drop your Instagram handle so that we can give you a shout out as well. Also, thank you, Aman, for inviting me, and please continue. Thank you.
Thank you, Sahil. And that was a mind-boggling quiz. Even I was so much indulged in that I didn't have a time that I saw the screens of other stuff. And also congratulate Krishna. And as I saw the quiz, the Santosh was on the lead, and only in few questions, last 2-3 questions, Krishna went up and won the game. And also congratulate to all those 5 people. And I feel bad for the name Anonymous. Now he must be regretting that he could have given his own name. But no problem. We are gonna come with another blast next session too. So moving forward, we'll go up with some problems. By which you will see the problems and you should understand and will be helpful in the quiz in the further rounds. So I would like to call Rohit so that he can take over to the problems. Rohit, over to you.
Thanks, Aman, for inviting me. Uh,
My pleasure.
so the first problem is elections are coming soon. As we all are familiar with the theory part, so we will solve the problem. Elections are coming. There are two candidates, John Jackson and Jack Johnson. The name are quite confusing. They are quite similar, so they are confusing. So let's assume John Jackson as candidate A and Jack Johnson as a candidate B. During the election, everyone can vote for their favorite candidate, but no one can vote for both. The pack of vote which went to the same candidates are formed, just like this election in some region. So there are different places in a one region. So there will be a pack of votes from each region. So they are combined and form single pack. For candidate A, that is John Jackson, there are n packs containing A1 to AN votes. And for candidate B, that is Jack Johnson, we have assumed as a candidate B, there are M packs. The votes are from B1 to BM. The, but obviously, it is the winner is the winner candidate should possesses more vote than the other candidate. We are friend of candidate A, so we need to help him to win the elections. We got one privilege. If candidate A, that is our friend, if he possesses less vote in some region, we can swap the vote with the other candidate to help him win this election. So the ultimate goal of in this problem is to find out the minimum number of swap which is required to help us win the candidate 1 or candidate A. So let's take an example. Candidate A, they are n packs votes, and candidate B, they are m packs votes. So let's assume n as a 3 and m as a 4. For candidate A, they are n 3 packs votes. First pack contains 2 votes. Second packs contain 1 vote, and third packs contain 3 votes. Similarly, for candidate B, M pack contains 4. There are 4 packs. So first pack contains 4 votes. Second packs contain 3 votes. Third pack contains 1 vote, and fourth packs contain the total votes of candidate A is 6. Total vote of we need to find out the minimum votes of candidate A, minimum pack containing minimum votes. So the ultimate goal in grid is to find the maximum profitable packs from candidate A and swap it with the largest votes of candidate B. So here the minimum vote is 1, and in candidate B the maximum vote is 4. So we can swap 1 with 4. Here we did that. So now total vote of A is 9 and total vote of candidate B is 6. So here our friend, that is candidate A, that is John Jackson, he's winning the election. So we need to do that only. So we need our ultimate goal was to find out the minimum number of steps. So here we did only 1 step. So answer is 1. Let's take another example. Here the n packs contain 3 packs, and for candidate B their m packs contain 5 packs. So we need to find out the minimum votes in pack. So it is 2, and here it is the maximum. here in candidate B, we need to find out the maximum votes. It is 3. So we at present the sum of vote A is 6 and vote B is 11. So we can swap 2 with 3. We did that. Now the vote of candidate A is 7 and vote of candidate B is 10. Here the minimum, now we'll do it till we'll do this step till our candidate, that is candidate A, win the election, that he possesses more vote than candidate B. Here the minimum vote of candidate A is 3, but which is greater than the maximum vote of candidate B. So it can't be further swapped. We will not get the result, the ultimate. In last, the candidate B will be winning the election. So here we need to print -1. Let's take one more and last case. Here, candidate A possesses 3 packs. The value of N is 3, and candidate B possesses 5 packs. The value of M is 5. So first pack contains 1, 1, 1. And for candidate B, 5 packs are 2, 1, 1, 1, 1. So total votes of candidate A is 3 and total votes of candidate B is 6. The minimum vote of candidate A is 1 and the maximum vote of candidate 2 is 2. We can swap 1 with 2. Now we will add this. The total vote of candidate A is 4 and the total vote of candidate B is 5. We can't do it further. So here here again the candidate B is winning the election. So we need to print -1. So we need to stop. There are 3 cases where we need to stop. When vote of A is greater than vote of B. So here candidate A is winning the election. That's our ultimate goal. So we'll print the number of swap here. In second condition, when minimum of A is greater than maximum of B. This was the case, was minimum of A, that is 3, which is greater than maximum of B, that is 2. So in this case, we will print -1. Again, in third case, minimum of A is equals to maximum of B. Here, minimum of A, here the minimum of candidate A is 1 and maximum of candidate A is 1, that is equal. So in this case, we will also print -1 and exit. So let's see the code now. First, we will take the test cases input. N and M are nothing, just a variable. A is a error. A is an array and B is also an array. We have declared it to the 1000. And similarly, we have declared B array as 1000. Now, for test cases, we have using a loop, we have iterated through all the test cases. Now we have after that we have after that we have took the input of N and M. N and M are just a variable. After this, we will initialize the After this, we will initialize the sum of candidate A and sum of candidate B. After this, we will take the votes of take input of array A and array B. Here we take the array input and then we will sum the array A, and similarly we do that for array B. After this, we initialize the answer. And for when we use a loop with a base condition that sum of A should be less than equal to sum of B. After this, we will check the minimum votes of minimum value in array A and maximum value in array B. After this, we will check if minimum of A is greater than equal to maximum of B. If this condition arises, we will break the and print -1. If this condition is not arises, we will increase the answer and here after finding the minimum value of in array, we have stored it in minimum A, and also we have stored the location of the value in location A. Similarly, we have stored the maximum value of B in sorry, I did that wrong here. We find the maximum value of in array B, and we have stored it in minimum B and location B. After this, we will swap the location A with location B. After swapping the location, we will update the sum of array A and sum of array B. After this, we will print the result, which is either minimum number of swaps or -1. Let's take the input. Here is the input. We will run the program if it works or not. It is working. We need example output as 2 and 1. We are getting the example output. So we will submit it. So it is submitted successfully. So Vishwajit will solve the next problem. Over to you, Vishwajit. There is some network problem with on Vishwajit. In Aditya will solve the next problem. Aditya.
Hello.
Yes, you are audible, Aditya.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Rohit. I am Aditya Sonani from SCIT. So we'll start with problem 2 of this session. So we will first read the problem statement. Then I will break it down into smaller parts. Okay. So let's read the problem statement first. Chef has gone shopping with his 5-year-old son. They have bought n items so far. The items are numbered from 1 to n, and the item I weighs wi grams. Okay, and chef's son insisted on helping his father in carrying the items. He wanted his dad to give him a few items. Chef does not want to burden his son, but he won't stop bothering him unless he is given a few items to carry. Okay, so chef decided to tell him some items. Okay, give him some items. Obviously, chef wants to give the kid less weight to carry. However, his son is a smart kid. To avoid being given the bare minimum weight to carry, he suggests that the items are split into two groups, and one group contains exactly k items. Then the chef will carry the heavier group, and the son will carry the other group. Chef help the chef in deciding which item should the son take. Your task will be simple. Tell the chef the maximum possible difference between the weight carried by him and the weight carried by the kid. So this is a very big statement, and it has given a lot of things to consider. So we'll just break it down into some key points of the problem. So how do we interpret, or how do we take the problem statement, break it into small parts? So first we are given an array of n elements which denotes the weight, and so we have to basically divide the array into two groups, in which first group contains exactly k elements, uh, and the second group must contain exactly n minus k, the remaining elements. And let's say the first group, the whole weight, total weight is wk, and the second group's total weight is wn, weight of n. So we have to find the maximum difference of this minus this, matlab, weight of remaining items minus weight of this first group, which contain k elements. So n इनका एब्स्ट्रैक्ट वैल्यू हमें इनका मैक्सिमम डिफरेंस पता करना है. So how do we approach this problem? So of course it is a greedy problem. So we will make local optimal choices, and which will result in the global optimal result. So we will assign minimum weights in the first group and the remaining weight in the second group, like minimum k elements in the first group and the remaining n minus k elements which are greater than k, the first w weight of k, this, and we will assign it to the second group. So for this we have to sort the array uh, to पहले के एलिमेंट्स को लेने के लिए सॉर्ट करना पड़ेगा एरे. So we will have the minimum k elements in the first group. So here k plays an important role in deciding the weight in the first group and the second group, of course. And then we will here in this problem we will have two cases. Which are those two cases? Is when k is less than equals to n minus k, means we have to take k elements and which are less than the remaining elements. Like if there are 6 elements and we have to take 2, so 2 is less than equal to 6 minus 2, which is 4. So this is our first case, and second case will be k is greater than equals to n minus k. Like if we have n equals to 6 and k equals to 4, so we have 4 is greater than equals to 6 minus 2, which is 2. So we will have these two conditions, and we will try to solve this problem. So now, as we have two conditions, in each condition we will first create a global two variables, one named kid sum and the other named chef sum. Okay, so in first case what we will do is we'll traverse the array. In first case when k is less than equals to n, we will traverse the input array which is given, which is also sorted from 0 to k, as to store the first minimum k elements into the kid sum, and we will store its sum in kid sum. Okay, then traverse the array from k to n, the remaining elements from k, uh, from k to n, the remaining elements, and store it the chef sum, sorry, sum in a variable named chef sum, this second variable. We will store them And similarly, in second case, if it is if it is in second case, we will traverse the input area from 0 to n minus k. Why n minus k? Because let's take an example here. Here n equals to 6 and k equals to 4, and we are given an input array 1 2 3 4 5 6. So if we did not had the second condition, what we would do, we would take n minus k is 2, so we don't have this. So first we would go from 0 to k, as this condition suggests. We will go from 0 to k, so our total kit sum would be 10. And in the second for loop, we would go from k to n. So in that case, our sum would be 5 plus 6, which is 11. And if we do the its difference, we would get 1, which is not the optimal. Let me show you why. So here comes this our second condition, where we take the first for loop from n minus k to n minus k, 0 to n minus k. So in the first loop, we will take 1 and 2. N minus k is 2, so we will take 0 1, this index based. So we'll take 1 plus 2, which is 3, and the remaining elements 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6, which is 18. So if we now take the difference and its abstract value, so 18 minus 3 is 15, which is definitely better than 1, and it is our optimal solution. It's the maximum possible difference you can get. So this sums up our second case, and it's similar to the our first one. बस हम यहाँ 0 से n minus k तक जा रहे हैं, 0 से k की बजाय, और इसके आगे हम n minus k से n तक जा रहे हैं, यहाँ k से n की बजाय. And finally we would print the sum of our answer as chef sum minus kit sum and its abstract value, mod value. And here we had printed 18 minus 3, which is 15. This is our answer. We would print this. So let's jump to the code part. Okay, so first let's see our input format. So first line of test case contains integer t, which is a total number of test cases, and each test case contains first line, which has n, the number of weights, and k, the number of elements in our first group. And the next line contain n space separated integers, which are weights. Okay, so we have to output the maximum possible difference between the weights carried by both in grams. Okay, so here constraints are pretty low, which when we don't have any problem. So okay, so let's jump to the coding part. Okay, so I have this template. So let's see what we have to input first. We have to input t test cases and n k and n space separated integer. So we'll first input this all. So we have inputted this n and k, and this array in a vector called v. So we have taken the whole input. Now here comes our solution. We will first have two conditions. Check for first condition, k is less than equals to n minus k. Okay, so first, okay, before that we have to sort the array. Of course, we will sort the array first, and then we will check if k is less than equals to n minus k, which is our first condition. So if k is less than equals to n minus k, so we will declare two variables, kit sum and second chef sum. In this case, we will first traverse our array from 0 to k first, and store the whole sum in kit sum, and the second for loop from k to n, and okay, and add this sum in chef sum, and our answer would be chef sum minus kit sum, which is its abstract value or mod value. It's positive value. So, and we will output this answer with a new line character. And in second else condition, we will have the same code with a small change in the first for loop and the second for loop. The change is we would go from 0 to n minus k instead of k, and here we would go from n minus k to n, and same we will add the values in kit sum and chef sum, and its answer would be kit sum minus chef sum, same as first, and we will output the answer. Okay, so this is our whole code. So let's check if it's right. These are 3 test cases. Two are this, and one is from our PPT. So its answer is 17,2, and we got 17,2, and here its answer is 15. So let's check from our PPT if that is right. So it is in fact right. We got our answer as 15. So let's submit and see if it is right from all our test cases. Okay, so we got correct answer. That means it is our solution, and it is correct from all the test cases. So okay, this was all about second problem. Now I would like to call Vishwajit Bhaiya to take over the session.
Hello and good evening to everyone. I hope you enjoyed the first two problems. So we'll proceed with the final problem for the day, and this will also help you get a good understanding of where and how we should use greedy approaches to solve problems. So let's take a look at the problem statement. This is also a bit lengthy, but we'll go through it quickly. Okay. So, Chef Ada is preparing n dishes numbered 1 through n for each valid I. It takes Ci minutes to prepare the ith dish. The dishes can be prepared in any order. Ada has a kitchen with 2 identical burners. For each valid I, to prepare the ith dish, she puts on one of the burners and after C1 minutes removes it from this burner. This dish may not be removed from the burner before the CI minutes have passed, because otherwise it cools down and gets spoiled. Any two dishes may be prepared simultaneously. However, no two dishes may be on the same burner at the same time. Ada may remove a dish from the burner and put it on another dish. Put another dish on the same burner at the same time. This is an important point. So the goal of this problem is that we have to find the minimum time needed to prepare all the dishes. That is, reach the state where all dishes have been prepared. So this is a bit lengthy problem, but we'll interpret this problem into some key points again, like we did last time. So the basic idea is that we are given an array of time to cook of several dishes. So and we have 2 burners, so any 2 dishes might be cooked at any given point of time, and a dish cannot be partially cooked. That was what we inferred from the previous statement, and we can also ignore the time taken to replace the dishes. And as we saw, the goal is to find the minimum time to cook all the dishes. So to better understand this problem, we'll take a look at the following scenario. So consider this scenario where we have 4 dishes, and these dishes labeled D1, D2, D3 and D4 take time 1, 2, 3 and 4 respectively to be cooked. So let's take a look at this particular scenario where we have arranged the dishes in this particular way. Okay, so what we have done here is we have split the dishes into 2 groups. We put dish D2 on burner 1, and then immediately we put D4 on burner 2. Then when D2 gets cooked completely, we replace that spot with D1, and when D4 gets completed, we replace that spot with D3. If we proceed with such an approach, then we will take a total of 7 minutes to complete cooking all of the dishes. But as you can see, this is not the best way to approach this. So a better way to do would be probably to shift this D3 dish to this pot here, so that we start cooking it from the 4th minute onwards. Then we would finish cooking all of the dishes by minute 6. But still, is that the most optimum answer? This is a totally valid solution, but as Dhanashri discussed earlier, we are looking for the most optimum solution in problems like this. So the actual approach that we should use is the greedy approach. So how do we apply a greedy approach in such a problem? We proceed by choosing the biggest dishes first, that is the dishes D3 and D4, and start by cooking those first, and then greedily choose the rest of the biggest dishes first, and then go so on. So that applied here would look something like this. We put D4 and D3 first, then followed by D2 here on the first available spot, and then when D4 is finished, we put D1 on this spot. So by using this approach, we are able to successfully find out the optimum solution for this problem. And this can be extended to any number of dishes that we can have in this array. So that was the idea. Now for implementation, we'll translate that idea into an algorithm for in such a way. First, we'll accept the input. Then after accepting the array, we will sort the array in reverse order. This would simplify the task of finding out the biggest dishes first. Then we'll maintain two variables to keep track of the total time a particular burner is busy. So what we need not actually find out what is the best arrangement here as such. What we actually need to do to answer the problem is to just keep a track of how much time one particular burner is busy. Then we'll take just the maximum of the values of these two burners. Let's say suppose dish D1 needed another minute to complete itself. So here D1 would extend till the 6th minute, and then at the end we would take the maximum of 5 and 6, which will result in the answer to be 6. So that's how we prepare our algorithm. So again, as I said, we cook the largest dishes first, and then finally output the answer as the maximum of the two variables. So that was the simple algorithm for the seemingly difficult problem. So now we'll proceed by taking a look at the actual problem page here. So here, this is the same exact problem statement, and the input conditions would be something like this. The first input obviously contains the number of test cases t. Then the first line of each test case contains n, the number of dishes, and then the following line contains the actual time to cook for each dish. So this C1, C2, Cn are the time to cook for a particular dishes. So similarly, this will be the three. This would mean 3 test cases, and this we have already seen, like how the structure is. So to save time, we will directly go to the programming part of this. So here I've already prepared the basic structure of the program for simplicity. So in each test case, the first thing that we do is that we take input for all test cases. So we would do something like this. So we would first take n, then declare an array, and then take input for these test case. So the next step that we carry out is to actually sort the array. So we would sort using this sort function available readily in C++ as we had discussed in the first foundations lecture. So after sorting the array, we would maintain track of the burners busy time using these two variables. So quite simple so far. So now what we do is that we iterate through the array once more. and this time we would assign dishes to each of the burner. So we would proceed by writing something like this. So since we have actually initialized B1 and B2 to 0, it would be very convenient for us to write the code in such a way. So firstly, if B1 is less than B2, so during the first iteration, B1 will be 0, obviously. So we add the time taken for the first largest dish to B1, and then during the second iteration, the second dish would be added to B2. Since 0, since here would be a non-zero value and here would be a 0 value, so we'll obviously go into the else part, and in such a way we can arrange the dishes in this manner using these two simple lines of code. So after we have completed assigning the burners or the dishes to the burners rather, we can proceed by outputting the actual value of the answer, and which is calculated by considering the maximum value between B1 and B2. So that would mark the end of our program. So what was seemingly a difficult task has now turned into a simple few lines of code. So let's first check if we have no compilation errors. Okay, let's wait another couple of seconds. Okay, so we have no compilation error so far. So we'll turn on the custom input. These are the same inputs taken from the example input. So we'll proceed by running this again. Okay, so we have successfully run our program, and we have got the expected output. So 4, 3, and 7, which is, yes, in fact matching with the example output. So now we can finally submit the program, and we should have completed all the test cases. And we have, yes, we have achieved a score of 100% by solving this problem using the greedy approach. So that was the final problem for the day, and I hope you have got a really good understanding of how we should approach using greedy approaches for solving such kind of problems. So now I'm calling Aman again to say some final words before ending today's session. Aman, will you please take over? Hello, Aman, are you there? Yes, Aman. Yes, Aman. Aman, your voice is a bit cracky. Can you check your connection, please?
Is my voice audible, Vishwajit?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Yeah, so thanks Vishwajit for problem. Thanks Rohit and also other participants. I hope you all must have understood the problem, and by coming to an end, as I told you at first, we have a special announcement which we were going to do in the end. So there it is. We have a project building workshop coming up next week, in which, like in T, we do mini projects, in BE we do final year projects. So for that we have conducted a workshop in which they're gonna teach you how to make a project from scratch to end, from preparing a ER diagram or a outline to design a final report. So for that, you need to stay tuned with us for the upcoming week through social media, and we are on social medias across all the platforms, including LinkedIn, WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, by name Coach Chef SCI Chapter. So keep a track on that, and we'll be updating you soon on that. So thanks for attending today's session. This was an end, and now Vishwajit will give you the vote of thanks. Vishwajit, over to you.
Yes, thank you so much again for attending today's session. We really worked hard to bring you this, and we hope that we have stood up to your expectations. And we are also really excited for the project, as Aman said. So we look forward to seeing you also next week, and just stay tuned for all the details. Okay, so we'll see you all again next week, and we'll have lots of more fun.
Thank you, Vishwajit. Any last words from Rohit?
No, that's it.
So thank you guys for joining up. We'll see you in the next week. Please be updated through our social media and also through the WhatsApp and Discord groups. We'll be updating you soon over there. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you everyone for joining us.